Hungry eyes. One look at you and I'm feeling so dalerific. Hungry eyes. Oh, that's all I get.
Don't stop. Let's just do this for the whole podcast. I'll take my shirt off and you can
Tell him take
sing
his
into it.
shirt off and I'll sing. Leave your shirt on.
Oh, yeah. Everybody who was wondering why I called you the international sensual sensation just had that question answered, because that was some sexy rendition of what was it, Annie Lennox?
Hungry Eyes? I don't know. I know it's definitely not.
Oh no, wait, yeah. That
We
was
talking about it. It's not Roxette. You said it. No, you said Tobacco did a cover.
Oh yeah,
of
Tobacco
Hungry
does a
Eyes.
cover of it. That's why we were talking about it.
I'm pretty sure it's Patrick Swayze from the Dirty Dancing soundtrack.
Yeah. And then he just whips his hair.
Yeah,
his
yeah.
long swazy hair. It's got the swaz.
I always have a tough time deciding on which, whether, her, like Baby, Jennifer Grey, or Patrick Swayze, which one I think is hotter.
They're very close. Like,
they're very, very attractive.
They're both. It's funny because Patrick Swayze is like super male, but he's kind of androgynous because he's very pretty. So
he's a very good dancer.
Yeah.
But he's a very masculine, like,
yeah. It's like ballet dancers when they're dudes. You're like, wow, that guy's very sensual dancing, and he's a very good dancer. And then they're just ripped as shit, and you're like,
oh yeah,
that guy has fucking muscles on top of muscles, and he's dancing ballet. But I guess you got to be strong to lift up those wavy girls. Yeah, though they have like 10 packs
and jump like. Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's like a 32 pack. But they're jumping over like pianos and shit. Like yeah, it's amazing. The athleticism
and the way they jump too, like they're not like getting a running and a hop. They're like their legs are like almost straight, and then they're like boing.
Yeah.
That's how I have to ballet dance because I can't actually do it. I have to use my fingers.
That's how you skateboard too? Do you have like one of those like fingerboards?
I can't even do those. I was like, how do people do this? Because I was just like, boing, and then it would just shoot out, and I'd be like, wow, that's
what happens. It's what happens when I use a real skateboard. So yeah. I'll give up on this sport too.
Oh yeah, I quit real skateboarding when I was like 24 because I twisted my ankle real bad, and I was like, what am I doing? I can't even do tricks, and I'm just gonna like twist my ankle and not be able to like do the other parts of my life. So this isn't even worth it.
What I love is that you're like 24 is actually like super late. Like 24 is like 10 years later than I think most of us figured out. Like I think it was like 12 to 14, somewhere 14 to 15. We were like I can't ollie over another skateboard and like, I was gonna mention a guy that we both went to school with who is an amazing skateboarder, Bo Franzen or something.
Yeah.
Who could ollie over the front of a car, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I keep on popsicle sticking myself, like like no, this is not no. I'm just gonna try and be witty in the corner, and that's how I'll pick up girls.
Yeah. Well, for me, I was in college, so the way I was kind of lessening the blow to myself was like, I'm using this as transportation. Like, I'm using this to get to and from work. Like, I hop on the bus and then I like can just walk or skateboard. It's like super easy. And then it's just like even that rationalization I had to give up.
Okay. That's a decent one though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Plus it's like one time I skateboarded and I was like walking and I worked at a paintball field, but the paintball field was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And to get to a bus stop was like a 2-mile hike. And this was back when 2 miles was actually hard to walk because I was just lazy and in college. And so there's this big swooping hill. And I was like, I'll just skateboard down this. Then I won't have to walk down this. And I didn't wipe out or anything, thank God. But I was going so fast. I just like had my hands up and I was like my hands were shaking. And I was so scared that my balls hurt after. Like that was the first time that ever happened to me in my life. That like, I guess like sometimes when a male is super scared, his balls like try to pull up to get out of the way of danger. And if they like do that enough, they get sore.
oh my God, this like brings so much back. Well, because I have a very good friend who I play in a band with, who he is mildly afraid of heights, and
Oh yeah. Oh, and he
whenever
gets
we're
like
like,
the tingle.
but yeah, he's like, he's asked me a few times now. He's like, like when you're like standing on a cliff, looking over, like off a precipice, and it's just like the abyss of like, if I fall off, I am definitely gonna die, and your balls hurt. And
Dude,
I
I
was
get
like,
that.
what are you talking about? No, I have no idea. And he's like, no, like he's like, and then we started, of course, like, reasoning as to what it would be, and it was like, well, I think it's that my balls hurt because if I fell off right now, I would never have children, and my children are like, don't fucking die. That was his reasoning. Anyway, but I'm amused and amazed that is actually a thing, that your balls actually hurt
Learning
when you're in a state
science
of
off
fear.
Outrage Factory.
Yeah, there you go. Well,
Like
you're welcome, universe.
it's almost akin to like when people who don't have, I guess this, we'll just call it the BT response, the ball tingle response.
Yeah, the BT response. Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
you don't have the BT response and you look over the edge, does your like throat still suck up a bit, or are you still like like involuntarily do you like catch your breath a bit?
Like, okay, or are we talking about people who aren't afraid of heights, or are we talking about
Yeah,
people
just
who?
like people like you, when you look
Yeah,
over the edge, are you
yeah.
like, oh, whoa, like a little gasp? Are you just like, I'm
But
sensual Dom, nothing scares me?
I'm still international and sensual, but no, I think I just feel like I would just feel it more like somewhere in my gut.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like it's something more like in regards to like a queasy, like I'm gonna throw up, like oh, when
yeah.
I have that kind of
Imagine
fear.
that. Imagine your little gut feeling, and there's like a little rope that goes down to your balls, and when
Mhm.
your gut moves, it pulls your balls with it. That's what it feels
That's
like for people who get the BT response.
BT response. I love it. It's a tingle. Was it a
Yeah,
tingle for you? It's a tingle.
yeah. It's more of a tingle.
So I have to ask, did you when you went, did you do this hill many times, or did you do it once and you were
I
like,
did it once.
yeah,
I don't
never
like being
again?
afraid. I'm
Oh
not one of
no.
those dudes. Like those
Well,
thrill seekers,
yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
people
no.
jump out of airplanes and do wingsuits. I'm like, the like, I just imagine myself like wiping out in a wingsuit and people being like, "What were you doing?" You're like, "Being an idiot. I was in a wingsuit. I have no good excuse
Yeah.
for it."
Yeah. Yeah, no. My sister lives in Canmore.
Hmm.
So she's kind of more connected, I think, to the extreme sports community. But there's we talked about, yeah, like these people who die, like these like, have you seen that documentary Solo? Not the one about the guy, not the one about Han Solo, but there's a documentary where
Yeah,
it's the
free
guy.
solo where he's climbing.
Exactly. And it's those people who die, like those guys who die, or
Oh yeah.
or the guys in the squirrel suits, and she's just like, and we're both guys like, it's like people get all sad, and you're like, well, what do you actually expect?
Do you
Like
want to
what
hear the weirdest thing, Dom? If
what
I were to watch Free Solo and anytime it like zooms off his body and shows down, I'll get BT response from that. Like
Yeah, you would.
it's
Yeah.
not as strong as it is in person, but I'm still not going to watch that because
Right.
it's still scary enough that I'm like I'll be playing
Yeah.
video games and they'll be like, "Hey, walk on this board across this chasm," and I'll get it, and I'll be like, "Whoa."
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. No. Yeah. But at the same time, like the thing about it is like it's almost like they are so, like he is so disconnected from things that I think you or I are so connected to.
mm-hmm.
Like the things that we think about, like when friends would, or if family members were to die, or if you were, like risking putting your life at risk, and like, like, oh, like you start, you could go through the list of like things that you're like, oh man, I'd miss this and this and this, and like I can't believe I'd do this to my girlfriend or my mom or my
Yeah.
sister. And the more you watch these people, the more you realize they're just like, they're not human. Like they don't they don't have any connection to the people, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's no love or yeah, I don't even know what to call it, but sort of this sort of like sentimental value
Hmm.
to the other parts of life. It's just this constant like feed this adrenaline,
Yeah.
thing for
Maybe
them.
it's something like how when you and me crawl upstairs or like climb upstairs, we don't even think anything about it. Like maybe he's so confident with climbing. Like when you see a toddler on the stairs, you're like, "Oh shit, somebody watch that
Right.
child." But you see an adult on the stairs, you're like, "Whatever, they know how to climb stairs. Like it's no bother." Maybe to him, climbing rocks is like climbing stairs. He's like, "I'm so good at this. I have so much confidence in my skills. I don't even have to think about it or be scared of falling because I never really happened."
I think there is an element of that, but I think that talking to my friends who have this, or like you were just talking about, like this adrenaline fear seeking
Hmm.
thing, where it's just kind of
Yeah.
like they don't feel alive until they push themselves on that precipice.
Oh my God. Do
Like
you
I mean,
feel,
do I
sorry
feel what?
to interrupt. I was going to say, do you feel like we have like a better life? Because for me to feel alive, I don't need to do anything super scary. I just have to like to be like, I guess like the fear response to feel alive. Like even if I get like a slight tiny scare, I'm like, oh, I'm alive. I don't have to like
Yeah,
go put on a wingsuit and like it'll be like if I wipe out, I'm dead. Like for me, it'll be like,
right,
oh, if I wipe out, that would kind of hurt. Like that's enough for me to
right.
feel alive. And then
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, on one hand, you're like, well, that's kind of lame. Like I'm not a very dynamic person who does all this stuff. But on the other hand, you're like, I don't have to do that stuff to feel alive. So it's kind of like,
Right.
what do you want to be,
I
really?
mean, I think I think there's a range, right? I
Hmm.
think I think I think there's the fact of the matter is these guys like the solo guy and other friends who I've met where it's just like they really have to put themselves on the edge of like, no, I could die if I
Yeah.
make one false move. And I think there's a huge range and I because I'm a firm believer that if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, you
Yeah.
find a lot of cool shit. Like you find out a lot about yourself, and you just adrenaline or whatever the feeling of life is when, you just push yourself, like you do something that you didn't expect to have done. Or if you're with a friend who like we all have these friends who kind of, the ones who go like, no, we're doing this, and you're like, I don't want to do this, and then you do it and you're like, well, that was actually really fucking great. I'm really glad. Like I was at the stag the other weekend, and it was so funny because normally I'm the person who's like, I don't want, like, why are we doing this? And then I do it,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, I'm so glad you pushed me to do that thing. And it was like,
Hmm.
it was so funny because it was like we went on this hike, and then we came up, and there was a waterfall down, like down this hill, and the hill looked pretty steep. But like being from British Columbia and having walked through forests, and I remember being like 4 years old, and we were at some campsite outside of Vernon, and as opposed to like doing the hike where you walk down a trail that went like this,
Oh
like
yeah.
zigzagged,
The double
my
backs.
yeah, my sisters and my older and her and their friends who were older than me were all like, "Fuck this! Let's just go straight down this." You know what I mean? Like they're just like, "We're gonna go straight down," and it was
Yeah.
just like you just running from like tree to tree. And I remember being like caught by these like teenagers and being scared, so scared for my life. Anyways, flash forward, I'm 36 years old, and I'm like looking down this thing. I was like, and then they're like, and there's like three people being like, "It's too dangerous." I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, there's a tree. There's like a tree this thick every
Yeah.
2 steps that you can just walk to and hold on to. And then we're at the
Yeah.
waterfall. Like, what is the, and, like there's a big discussion until me and the groom, because it was a stag, we're just kind of like looked at each other and we
Hmm.
realized it's like, if we keep on talking about this, it's never going to happen.
Right.
We just need to start walking, and they're all going to go, fuck you guys. And of course,
Yeah.
at the end of it, it was a great time. It was like we all bathed naked under this waterfall. It was freezing cold, but it was just like, yeah,
Ladies.
we felt alive. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I think like there's a huge range of that before you get to like, I'm going to do something without a rope that I should definitely use a rope for.
Oh
But
yeah,
you know
definitely.
what I mean? Like there's a huge
Yeah.
range of that. So
like it's almost like you desensitize yourself to the danger, and it's not even
Exactly.
like it's actual danger. It's like it's the ill perceiving of the danger that's not really there, because it's like you said, there's a tree every 2 steps, so you can see the path to go down, and you're like, it's not even dangerous. And these other guys just see the hill, and they
Yeah.
don't see like the steps to take along the way.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
a good metaphor for life. If you find the trees every 2 steps, then you won't get the BTS or the BT response, and you can go down this hill, and then you get to bathe in a waterfall naked with all
With
of your friends.
all your bunch of dudes. Yeah,
So did you guys
exactly.
tape this and like you have a video for me or no?
There's no video. But there definitely is a bunch of photos of
Yeah.
it's like Cox and Cox, just like two guys going in at once, one at a time,
Yeah.
under the waterfall, and then there's photos, and then it's like a WhatsApp group where like all of the stag party photos just like funneled in, and then like somebody who left the stag party early just like resent back like just like edited photos of just the crotch areas.
Yeah,
Here
it's like
here's Dom
girls are
and
like,
Tom. Yeah.
"Oh, I'm so sick of getting DPs. Guys don't know what it's like, or like dick pics." And you're like, "Don't look at my WhatsApp. That's for sure."
It's nothing but chota
Yeah.
and
You're like,
yeah.
I was going to make this video to show people, but the waterfall was actually quite cold. So I'm not going to show anybody except for the people who were there.
Waterfall was exceptionally cold. It was
I can
exceptionally
imagine. That's like
yeah.
fresh creek water or
Oh
like
yeah.
stream water.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Wim Hofer's dream. It's a Wim
Uh,
Hofer's wet dream. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
are
you're,
you?
sorry,
Yeah.
you go
Go.
for it. You, no, you.
Well, I was kind of curious because I don't know what you're like. You're a welder still, right? You
Yeah,
do
I
that.
still weld.
And has your life changed at all since COVID took over, or did you kind of?
No, it's on one hand, I'm extremely grateful that I'm in an essential business, so I just go to
Mhm.
work and go home. But on the other hand, I feel like I'm like it's some weird perverse way I'm kind of missing out on the COVID experience,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is nobody wants it, but it's like I just go to work and then I go home and it's like it's kind of boring because like you can't go do anything afterwards. But at the same time, it's not like the people who can't do anything all day. But at the same time, it's like if
Yeah.
you look at it without thinking of any of the bad parts, COVID quarantine for some people was like a summer vacation as a kid. It's like you just have nothing to do. So you have all this free time to fill it with like movies and videos and video games. But at the same time, you can't really go outside. So it's kind of bad. And I'm grateful because like I'm a guy who lives paycheck to paycheck. I know that's bad and I'm trying to work my way out of it. So if I got blindsided like with this like everybody else, I would have been in deep trouble. So the ability to keep going to work and making
Right.
money
Yeah.
is good. But sometimes I was like I wish I just
Right.
spent a week straight playing video games.
Right.
How
Well,
about
yeah, it
you?
is funny. I mean,
Because
I mean,
you would have been hit hard because you're a live musician. You do a lot of live
100%.
performances and tours and stuff. So you would have had basically that whole part of your livelihood taken away.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no. So I had a tour from May into June, or is it April into May? It was funny how those like for us those of us that like fully got the full COVID experience
Hmm.
or the full Corona experience was just like it was like this time vacuum where all of a sudden you're like it's June. How was it? Yeah, it's been 4 months or whatever the fuck it was. But yeah, I
Yeah,
had a tour from April to May that just disintegrated overnight,
yeah,
and um yeah, so it's been an interesting ride. I mean, the Canadian government has given artists sort of some money
some
or
CERBs.
like
Hey, did you get any of that money? Because you're still Canadian, even though you're in
I
Berlin,
mean
right?
yeah, but yeah, this is a German one, so like I've been in Germany long enough.
Is
and
it
the German
better
go.
and more
Well, it's in.
technologically advanced?
Well, no, I don't know what the funny thing about the German was, is like signing up for it. There was like one of those, like they opened it up on a day,
Hmm.
and then you had to like log in with all your information, and then they put you in a line, and I just remember like talking to everybody who did it and everything, and it was just kind of like people were like, I'm on this list, and it's Germany wide, and I'm number 24,677.
See, that's what they want to do. They just want to turn you into a number.
And then like, and then they're like, okay, and then like, people would watch it for like an hour or 2 hours and be like, they just went through 300 people
Yeah.
in 3 hours, and I'm still 24,000. And then you're like doing the math, and you're like, okay, so I don't need to check this again for 5 days. I need to leave my kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people doing that shit. So was it more technologically advanced? I don't know. I didn't deal with the Canadian one, but yeah,
Hmm.
like this is, and my roommate had dealt with it too, and he left it on, and he missed it. Like, it was one of those, like, all of a sudden, like, because of course, a whole bunch of people see the number and
Yeah.
log off at some point, and all of a sudden it lose 5,000 people, and then you're just like,
Oh, if you log off your number, oh,
or maybe your computer dies, or
yeah,
what, you know what I mean? Like, it's like you had to stay in line
yeah.
electronically, right? And so he,
Hmm.
he totally had that happen where he waited through 11,000, and then 2 days later, because it should have taken 3.5 or 4 days, it just bumped him up, and all of a sudden, but he wasn't sitting next to his computer at the very moment or the very half hour that he should have been, and he had to get in the back of the line again.
Oh, brutal.
So was it more technologically advanced? I haven't talked to that many Canadian people, but I mean, it's in euros, so that's the nice part, because the euro is kicking the Canadian dollar's ass. Of course,
Yeah.
like, I'd much rather get 2,000 euros than
Well, you get
2,000.
2,000 euros.
Oh, I
That's
think
like
it's more. It's more than that for most of the professions here.
per month.
No, like one.
Oh,
one
yeah, because
yeah.
here it was, I think it was
Is it a
two
monthly
thousand
payout?
dollars per month.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
mean, that's pretty decent. That's pretty decent.
it's
Yeah.
pretty good. Like, it's
Yeah.
not as much as you'd make at a regular job, but it's enough to pay
No.
your bills and not
Yeah.
protest in the States for your ability to go back to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I thought it was funny because one of the documents you sent me.
Mhm.
I don't know how this podcast works.
Oh, the
One.
podcast is very loose. If anybody's watched it, they know how it's just pretty much ragtag, and I try to string it together with some nice segues, but it never works out. So this is you're fitting right in, actually. Like the way
Okay.
you just cold bring up something, that's the best way to do it and fit
Okay.
in with the rest of the
But one
podcast.
of the what I thought was really funny was one of the documents, or one of the news reports you sent me, was
Mhm.
the youngins getting in trouble, the Third Beach, Vancouver
Oh
one,
yeah,
because so the news piece that Dale sent me was essentially talking about how people are just partying on Third Beach, avoiding all like social distancing. Like the video you watch, the photos I saw was just like insane. It looked like a festival that would have happened definitely pre-COVID on any crazy night,
yeah.
you
So
know,
I'll just
in
give a little
Vancouver.
backstory to what you're talking about. So Third
Yeah.
Beach, if you're not familiar with British, because for some reason people listen to this outside of the province because they like the sound of her voice. So anyways, Third
Yeah.
Beach it's basically just a beach that's within city limits in Vancouver, and it's kind of out of the way. So a lot of like hippies and ne'er-do-wells. I don't think they're actually that bad. I just wanted to say ne'er-do-wells. They
Right.
they go hang out there, and at like maybe things get a little turned up because they're kind of off the beaten path, and you have
Right.
to walk like a couple kilometers to get. Oh no, wait, there's a parking lot right there. Never mind. Forget all I said.
Well,
Anyways,
it is kind of, you know what I mean? Like, if for the people who aren't from
yeah,
Vancouver, this Wreck Beach, which is like, well, and that's our
yeah,
nude beach.
That
And
is
then,
where people go to get naked and do drugs. Do
yeah,
not let your children go there.
unless you're going there with them and you're trying to bring them
Unless I'm
inducted,
there and they are attractive, then
your children.
suggest they go there.
You're a terrible person. But what I noticed when I was leaving, or before I left Vancouver, was that like Third Beach was like the rec beach that was still, you know what I mean? Like it was still the place where you're like, oh, people don't care as much here. People are
Yeah.
smoking more marijuana. They're getting more naked. They're
Hmm.
just a bit more free. So it was like kind of like that. You didn't have enough time to do the hour and a half trek to our nude beach. Well, go to Third Beach and you get like a slice of the same pie.
Yeah.
But what I thought was really funny was that like my friends and acquaintances who go there normally are a lot of the people um, who have been since the beginning of all of this been the ones who are like coming out reposting this is a 5G problem, uh, the ones who were protesting masks, who were protesting this being some kind of um, conspiracy from the state, and like an aggression against our personal rights. So it's just like a lot of my friends who are like the hula hooping hippies who
I
go
just
who
want to bust in there for a sec. Sorry to derail the
yeah
story. I just like how it's like we're now at the point where the bad like folks who are like on the outskirts of society are the same as they were in the 30s because they're like the hula hooping people.
but I mean it's just like, and I love them dearly, but
Yeah.
like at a certain point I'm just kind of like I was pretty critical about this from the get-go. Like
Hmm.
at the beginning I was just like, yeah, really though, really, like, or is this just the next shit that you're feeding me that I have to just like okay,
Yeah. You're like,
you know?
are you guys fear mongering? Is this something that
Yeah,
like I personally don't appreciate how much I was proven wrong with this whole COVID thing, but
yeah,
at this point to still be like, oh, it's fake, all these numbers are
yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
Masks are like they're like think that they're gonna track you wearing masks and stuff. It's like, asshole, you have a cell phone that's linked to the internet
Yeah.
24/7. They don't
You've been
need to make you wear a mask.
yeah, 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 exactly. Oh yeah. But yeah. So it's like, oh. So when I saw that report that you sent me, I was just like, oh, I know those people. I know those people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's kind of like there's the mix of the people who don't believe how bad it is. They're like, "Oh, that's just the government saying it's that bad, so we'll all stay in our houses so they can like, I don't know,
Mhm.
the hand of Big Brother can reach in and control our lives more." And then there's the other part, which I think it's like it's a growing part of it is the people who are like, "Yes, this disease is real, but it's an old person disease." And all the people who are dying from it are like over 60, so me being like a 20 to 35-year-old person, I don't have to worry about it. So they're like, I can go to the beach and I won't get sick, and even if I do get sick, I'll just get over it right away because that's the way this disease works. Is it's kind of like, oh, I don't know how sick you're going to get if you get it, nobody really knows, but that happens. And then also everybody's been inside for 3 months, and now that the weather's all nice and the beaches are still there, of course they
Right.
want to go to the beaches.
Yeah, yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And I honestly think, like, I think we were talking about this probably before the episode started, so I'm confused. I'm not sure what we've already mentioned, but like the yeah, I honestly think it's like it's kind of part of the process. Like it's
Hmm.
like I used to work with drug addicts in Vancouver in the downtown east side, and I worked in this detox where people who were addicted to intravenous drugs, everything from Dilaudid to heroin to coke to crack. Um, the people that I worked with as the therapist and stuff would say like, what's the word? When you
Relapse.
relapsing is part of
Yeah.
recovery.
Hmm.
Like you know like so you need to look at it as like you're getting over this very hard thing, and yeah, you're gonna fuck it up, and you're gonna relapse, and that's part of you learning that, like, why you need to stop this drug. And I think, to me, a lot of this is like, well, because basically, like, what happened in Berlin was, like, there we locked up and everybody went, everybody did social distancing for basically as long as everybody else did, 3-4 months. And then all of a sudden it was kind of like you guys were doubling the bubble, and we went back to, like, oh, like, kind of normal.
Hmm.
And I think, it's kind of like, I went to this event last week, and I went and I showed up and I left because I was like, this is not a good scene. This is like, there's way too many people. It's like, imagine just like ramming 30 people in a sauna all night and being like, we'll be fine, right? We're fine, right? Like, we're fine, right? Like, yeah, just take off your shirt. We'll be fine, right? Yeah, don't worry about
Yeah.
it. I'll sweat on you, sweat on me, and then we'll swim and we'll shift around. It was like that. It was like, you looked in and you're like, that's not a smart idea. But I think, like, you need to, we as a society and as friends and whatever, need to make that the mistake to kind of go like, oh no, this really is fucking a thing. Like, this
Yeah.
really is this is a serious thing. And it's just sad that when it has to happen on that kind of mass scale, like, I don't know how many people got it, or how many people passed it around from a gathering like that at second or
Yeah.
third beach. But it's kind of like, we all need to go like, oh shit, like, no, this is real, and it is fucking invasive, and it can move so fast within a group
Yeah,
that,
and it's like, if you look at how many people are infected right now, it's like, versus the population, it's not that many. Like,
no,
the example we all know, because everybody's paying attention to what's going on in the US, because that's basically a worst case scenario. And they have, like, what is it, like 3 or 4 million infected, but that's only like 1.23 of the population. Like, they have
yeah,
a population of 330 million. So there's like still 326 million people who haven't been affected or tested, because there's some that
right.
get
Well, there's
infected that we don't
that
know
number.
about. But even if you double the number that are infected, there's still so many people that haven't had it and could spread it still. So it's like, yeah, it's
Mhm.
kind of like, it's almost like you want it to be over so bad that you kind of go into some sort of like denial. And then you're like, well, it's not that bad. We're already over the hump. Like, we flattened the
Right,
curve, so we're good now. But like,
right.
the second wave is, like, I guess we're in the second wave right now, and it's like, we can't really re-shut down.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think we know enough now that we can, we could be clever enough about how we interact with, you know
Yeah.
like, even I think, like, the usage of the mask usage, and just the way in which we can kind of go like, no,
Yeah.
I shouldn't go to clubs, and I shouldn't go to a bar, and I shouldn't,
Yeah.
whatever it is, I shouldn't be inside packing, just like rammed inside places where I'm just like slinking between people who are drinking and coughing and smoking in my face. Like,
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, that's an obvious no.
Like,
But
one thing that this whole COVID thing has taught me is that I'm more of an introvert than I ever thought. Like, I like attention. I like being around people and hanging out and laughing. But now it's like, if someone were to be like, hey, do you want to go to a bar? I'd be like, nah. They're like, well, COVID's like almost done. I'd be like,
Mhm.
I don't really want to. I'm fine. And it's like, I don't know if there's still like that whole underlying fear of actually going into a crowd of people and getting COVID. But like, I'm okay with not hanging out with groups of people. Like, as soon as it gets over 10, I'm like, I'm not really into this. And it's
I
funny.
I get
Yeah.
exhausted now. Like, I went camping. I think this was like a month ago. I went camping
Yeah.
with some friends, and it was like 10 people sitting around a fire.
Yeah.
Just like, and I was so tired, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, I haven't seen friends in
Oh, yeah.
months. And now that I'm seeing them, I'm like, I can't deal with you, all of you at once. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like I used to go to the gym every day, and then I went and I took 6 months off, and then I went again, and just getting my shoes on in the change room was so hard. It
Well,
was,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I'm good. Yeah, no, I know I haven't
yeah.
seen you, but I don't need to talk to all of you at once. It's
No,
just,
I know what you mean, because it used to be like if you're hanging out with 10 friends that you saw all the time, you like talk to one for 5 minutes. Oh, hey,
yeah,
what's new? Nothing cool. Oh, hey, how'd that thing turn out? Oh, yeah, that's cool. But now it's just like everybody's like, I haven't talked to anybody. I have to talk to everybody. And you're just like so much engagement back and forth. Like, because there's like a 4 month period of not seeing someone is actually pretty long. So to catch up
mhm,
on everything with everybody at once, you're like granted there's not many life milestones happening because of COVID and we're all staying indoors, but there's still like 4 months of activities that happen.
right. But it's the same, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is a weird mishmash. It's like it has been 4 months, but really, it's like, what have you been doing? Not, not a lot, not a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's funny because it's like for me, who, like I mentioned before, I still go to work, but it's still like I'll go to work, then go home. It's
Right,
about it. That's
right.
really so it's like I feel like, you know what it feels like? I was thinking about this the other day. It's like when you were a kid and you envisioned your parents, because I don't know about your parents, but my parents personally never did any extracurricular activities. Like they went to
Mm,
church every Sunday, and maybe once in a while there's a potluck or they go to someone's house for coffee. But predominantly it was just go to work, go home, watch TV in the evening, have dinner, go to bed, wake up the next day and do it again. And I was always like, that looks terrible. Like, how are they not bored? How do they not need to do
right,
dynamic stuff? And now that I've been doing pretty much that for 4 months, I was like, it's oddly comforting. It's
right.
like the life equivalent of comfort food. It's like steak and potatoes. It's like it's kind of boring, but it's still steak and potatoes. Like it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
delicious. Like it's not like kung pao chicken or some like delectable delight, but it's still like you're just like I'm just like,
Right,
oh, this is comforting. And it's like now I'm just kind of scared that I'm gonna get so into this that it's not even gonna be a rut. It's just gonna be the lane I'm in. Where it's like, do you want to go on vacation? It's like, nah,
I got
why
steak
don't
and
we just go to the
potatoes.
mall?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, there is that though. There is that.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a couple, like, reminds me of just like a couple times in my life where, I still are you dry? Or do you?
I'm not dry, but I got gout a couple years ago, and drinking actually like makes my gout worse. So I'm drinking like de-alcoholized beer like this.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like alcohol free. But if I go
Nice.
to dinner, I'll have one or two drinks.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's not like I'm a huge drinker, but it's just like
Mm,
there's periods of my life where I've just been like, I'm not do this for a while, and when I step into that,
yeah.
it's like, you make dinner and then it's like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night or whatever, and I was like, now what? You know?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm not tired. I'm
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean? I think it's like a week of just like kind of being like it being like 8 to 10 o'clock, and you're just like, okay, I can do whatever. Okay, I can do whatever I want. And you're like, it's a mixture between like, am I bored? Am I? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's kind of like that. But then once you get into it, you're just like, oh, it's great.
Yeah. You're
I've
like, oh,
done.
I could read a book. I haven't done that in
Yeah,
a
it's
while.
like I've been crushing books. I've been
Yeah.
songwriting more at night, even though I did in the day. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's great. So.
Yeah. Another thing I was thinking about today too is like right now we're kind of primed for this because we've got like so much streaming services, pretty much
Mhm.
all these books you can read and all this stuff. But when we were like kids, if this would have happened, I had like three channels growing up, and I couldn't even imagine trying to entertain myself like for days on end with just three channels and like maybe a VHS at like from like a
Right.
Blockbuster that,
Oh yeah.
well, I guess they would have been essential services because you need to give people entertainment and stuff. But
Right.
it's like now, like I pretty much, I kind of say it all the time, but I haven't really been bored since smartphones were invented. Because it's even if you're like, what should I do? And then you'll just like go online and you can like read news articles. or you can go on
Oh,
Wikipedia and research some random
it's
thing.
fucking, it's endless. It's endless. It's
Yeah.
endless. It's endless. It kind of reminds me, what you said just reminded me of being a kid living out in the sticks of Salmon Arm, like not Salmon Arm, like, and I remember, there was a storm, and all of
Yeah.
a sudden, it's like we've just had dinner. It's like 3 hours before bedtime or something. And there's a storm, and the power goes out and the TV goes off, and you're like, and you're just like, I have no idea. Like, you couldn't even read because the lights were off, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, no television, no light. And I remember the best time ever was this one time the storm moved in, everything went out at once.
Yeah.
But then it just turned into this thunder and lightning storm. And I remember it was like my family just like shifted our attention from like the TV a bit to the left, and we all just looked out the front window, and the sky just went bright yellow orange, and we just watched the lightning storm for the next hour. But you know what I mean? But it's like, I just remember being like, yeah, like, what the hell? What would we have done if this would have spread? But I also think too, like, we probably would. How would we have gotten the information as fast?
That's true.
In
Yeah.
in the 80s or the 90s, like, would we have just gotten way sicker way quicker, or would it have just taken way longer because I don't know, were we not as
they
mobile
would have
back then?
just sent it over like radio, probably like an emergency radio broadcast,
Yeah.
or like on like interrupted TV programs, or maybe like word of mouth. Like, it would have taken longer to learn about how bad it was, but I think it would have also been easier to separate from large groups. Maybe because we were
Right.
at we both, like, you grew up in Salmon Arm, I grew up in Enderby. They're both pretty small urban areas, so it's like you kind of have to go out of your way to hang out with people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it would
yeah.
have been easier to like distance and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, it would have been weird. Or even if you go back like to the Spanish flu, like in the 20s, like, what would that have been like? They didn't even have 3 channels. They had no channels.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And they were like mostly illiterate, so they couldn't read and all this stuff. Like, maybe tell each other ghost stories or
Right.
do farm labor, I guess.
Ghost stories
Yeah.
were at an all-time high.
Yeah, that's where most of our ghost stories come from. The great telling of 1920.
Spanish flu. Oh, man.
Actually, I could see, like, if something like that happened and you're just like, you're in the 20s, you're like, you live on a farm, there's nothing to do. Well, I guess you just do the same thing every day. You just do farm chores. But you could like build stuff, be like, oh, let's build a cabin.
Right.
Just do that.
Yeah,
You have all the free time.
that is actually probably the most. We probably would have been a lot more able, and like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, we were like, well, I'll just fucking, I'll just fix my bike and make a wheelbarrow and continue to farm like a fucking boss.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, not even like, you don't even have to rely on entertainment because
No.
your work took up enough of your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you this is kind of BC centric with the whole third beach, and now the next thing I'm going to bring up, did you see this thing about glory holes?
Oh yeah.
That just someone had to know that this would get made so much fun of.
Like, is British Columbia the only place that came forth and like put that into writing as part of the like safety plan?
I think so, because most provincial governments would have been like, okay, to save yourself from sex, first of all, don't do strangers. That's gross. Just kidding. Whatever. But if you're going to have sex with someone you don't know their physical history or like their medical history, do a contactless thing. And they said, like, maybe put a blanket in between, and then it had in brackets glory hole, and everybody was like, wait, are those real? Because the only time I've ever like known about glory holes was porn.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if
100%.
those are just like I can't even imagine, like, you find a glory hole out in the world and you're like, there's no way I'm using this. Like, you don't know what's on the other side.
Well, it depends on how long you're stuck at this gas station.
That's
Dale.
true. I mean, if it's a 1920s gas station and it's COVID and you don't have your phone, maybe. But right now, it's like I know too many. Like, I don't trust anybody enough to just be like, "Here's my dick. Do whatever you want to it. I'm on the other side of this wall, and I can't stop you."
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But you're 100% right. Like I feel like most of us just think about it as a yeah as a porn thing. Like it's the make believe. This is
Yeah,
just like you know what I mean. Like it's you're going down and getting fucked by a horse. You're like that doesn't actually happen. Um, but like I don't know. I was actually really proud of like the fact that BC John Horgan or whoever put that into writing. I'm just like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, we've come a long freaking way for
yeah,
that to be like, like, look, we're, as opposed to just like part of it kind of read on to say like, just, if you're gonna have sex, do it with yourself. There's nobody safer than fucking than your own hand. This is like,
it's true.
God, right? Like, okay, you know what I mean? But like, it sort of came around to like say a lot of things that were quite modern and liberal.
Yeah,
But the glory hole thing is quite funny because like I'm like when I instinctually think of like sticking my dick into a hole into the unknown, I'm just like, what if somebody on the other end just wants to do something cruel to my dog?
yeah. Or let alone all those monsters you thought lived in the dark in your childhood. Like if I mean, I'm not 100% sure there's no such thing as chupacabras, and I don't want to find out that they exist by sticking my dick through a hole and a chupacabra's on the other side.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's not a goat, but it might still think it is and try to suck the blood out of it, and that is not something I want to be a part of.
right.
Another thing that happened was it was like John Horgan or the BC CDC puts this out, and you read it and you're like, wait, is John Horgan using glory holes? Like, is that why this is? Who's using glory holes in the government that they put it in their
Right,
literature? Like, I mean, they
right,
could have just let it at, like, put a blanket in between you. Like, they could have even said, like, if you're in Alberta, it probably would have been like, put a blanket in between you with a hole in it, like they do on the Hutterite colonies, because there's that old wives' tale of
right,
they'll pay you $50 to go because their genes are all getting too close together because they don't have
right.
enough people interbreeding
Yeah.
in the colony. So they pay people $50 to go to the farms and then have sex with their women through a sheet so that they can have like a bigger gene pool,
Why do they have to have sex through a sheet in that scenario?
because it's something to do because they're Hutterites. They don't want you to see the women you're having sex with. Or it might
Yeah.
even, you know what? It might even be leftover wives' tale from the Spanish flu of the 1920s.
Oh,
Maybe the process has lasted that long because these colonies would have been had their populations gutted from the Spanish flu, and they had to repopulate their farms to make the farms grow and do all the chores. So maybe that's the way they did it. They wanted more people, but they didn't want their women to get sick from
right.
the dudes.
Well, since this whole thing started, I've kind of been wondering, like, when are people like? I always think of like, the boy in the bubble, or like the Seinfeld episode where there's like the guy who's in the bubble. Like,
Yeah.
where are the suits? Like where is my like suit that I can just leave my house in and just be like basically covered in this like bubble? And
Yeah,
in
like
that case,
a
in
hazmat
that
suit.
yeah, exactly. In that case, why can't I have my sexy hazmat suit where it's kind of like, no, this is my suit for sex, and you
Yeah.
have one too, and then that way our genitals can touch, and we can still. I don't know if they're like.
It'll be like those romantic scenes in movies where they both kiss the sides of the glass and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
that's cute. But if you're in
exactly.
this hazmat suit, would it have like, how would the dong work? Like, is there a little hole and your like
Yeah.
naked dong comes out, or is it like a built-in condom sheath that
Oh,
comes out? Because
that's
if
much
you're
more
just gonna
sophisticated.
willy-nilly put your dong out in the air, you're just gonna get like all the viruses through the dong hole.
Is that true?
I'd imagine. Because the whole point of hazmat suits is they're airtight. And if you
Right.
have a hole, just so you can put your dong out. It's not airtight anymore.
Yeah. Basically, then you'd have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the person. I'm just like a big picture kind of guy. You know.
Okay. Well, I'm the type of guy who focuses on the penis. So
There you go. You focus on the dick.
yeah,
The dick.
and it's like another thing to think about is if it does have like a condom dong sheath built in, you can't have just a regular condom material because that's way too thick to trust your life through. So you're going to have like the thick plastic that the whole suit's made out of. And then if you're going to that, you're like, well, is this even worth it? Like, is there going to be seams down the side that are just going to hurt? And
so now we're just tossing the whole hazmat suit away. You just
well, it's like
crumpled up
it's eventually going to turn into this. It's like, do you want the hazmat suit or do you want to have sex? And everybody's going to like pretend they're mature and be like, I'll take the hazmat suit. And then like 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, they're going to be like, you know, this hazmat suit, it is protecting me, but
it just
sex.
feels better.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to wear that tonight, honey. It's okay. Let's just skip the hazmat suit.
Hey, how about you take the hazmat suit off and I'll just put the tip in. That's just the tip. No, I'll stop there. I'm not gonna go all the way.
The glory hole thing also kind of intrigue. Well, the whole part of it too is kind of like the way that it was scripted. It would almost be like, hey Dale, you and me are like we were talking.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Let's go. And then you know what I mean, like, and then like I'll go to that side of the glory hole, and you go to that side of the glory hole, and then we do the thing, which I'm just like, but that's not how glory holes work. Like,
no, like
you know what I mean? It's not like we have like we make an agreement, and then we just like separate and then go to either side of this hole. I thought like I would very much like to know how and where they appear. I feel like I have friends who could tell me about, you know, like is that, you know, there's clubs. Berlin is kind of like the capital of like all of the things that you like hear about that you think are urban legends. Are like, oh no, these sex clubs and these like rooms, like dark rooms. Have you heard of dark rooms?
No, what's that?
Like a dark room is essentially just like you're in a club and it's basically, I think usually it's probably like a 2-door system where you end up just going into a completely dark room and searching and, you know, finding somebody with your hands or however you find them, and then you just end up joining some kind of sexual congress.
Do they not have STDs in Berlin?
Of course they do, but I'm assuming
you're just gonna go into the dark and presume the other person is like honest and good enough to not have an STD. I mean, sorry if I'm ruining the sexual fantasy here. I think they're. Sorry, I think
I'm pretty sure that they're. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you were cutting out for me. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
I think it's because the internet has to go all the way to Berlin and back. So
there you go.
It gets tired.
But yeah, he's so tired. But I think there's a lot of like, you know, wearing contraceptives or not contraceptives, condoms and those kind of things. You know what I mean? Like I think they would have to be.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a prude because in my 20s-year-old Dale, if I knew dark rooms were a thing, I would be there every night. But now that I'm 40 and I'm like, well, you could get sick and stuff. And like I'm basically like my libido has like aged down where I can be a normal person and make rational decisions. But in my 20s, I was just like, what are we doing? Where are the girls at? Who can we talk to? Let's get this going. What's going on? And like, yeah. Like dark rooms, though, that's wild.
It is wild, yeah.
We're those in our 20s. We should have been in Berlin in our 20s, Dom.
We should. I know that I say this to myself all the time when I like see my friends or my younger friends who are partying and stuff. And like Berlin's a kind of a place where people party. Well, not right now. COVID has really killed this, which is hilarious because my whole first year I was like, I'll get to the party. It's like they're all, you know, like the parties are always there. Like as if there's there's no rush. They're always they're not there. They're not there. They have been there for months. But like it's the kind of place where, you know, clubs will open sometimes on Thursday night and they won't close until Monday afternoon.
That makes me tired You want me to party
exhausted.
for 2 days?
Well, you don't have to party for that long,
Are
but
they
like
catered?
you can oh yeah, yeah, like I mean not catered, but like that's how they get you, and
Oh,
that's
there's like an
beginning.
orgy buffet.
There's just like well no, but there's just like there's like you go to club in
Yeah.
Vancouver or you know there's no food like but
You
that's the
pop
only
out, grab a poutine, and go back in? Is
that's
there
what you do.
re-entry?
But well no, they just have poutine like there. They
At
don't
the
have
party?
poutine. Yeah, like it's like it's a massive enough party that like there's several rooms, and then you walk out of a room and you go
Okay, you're
around the
talking
corner
me into it.
and you're
Is
in an
there
open air, and then you get like you can get like bratwurst, or you'll get fries, or you get pizza over there. They'll have you know what I mean, like but like they've thought it through enough to go like the only reason people are fucking leaving
yeah.
is they're tired, and if they're on drugs, they're not going to get tired, or if they're tired, they'll go home. Fuck them. We're not making any money off them, or they're hungry.
You
So
know what I want to see? They should have like an HGTV show where they go and they review the food at orgies. At these Berlin parties, they're like, who's got the best orgy brats and which, because it would like, I don't want to sound like a glutton, but if I'm picking a place to go have an orgy and I just see a HGTV show saying that Club A has all right food, but Club B has mediocre orgies, but really good bratwurst, I would maybe go with Club B.
okay,
Because, I mean, sex is sex, but a bad bratwurst during your orgy? Like, you need
yeah.
your fuel.
I love how all clubs have just turned into orgies for you because I mentioned dark rooms.
Yeah, it's Berlin. I've heard the stories, Dom.
Yeah, yeah, it's Berlin.
I have a serious question, though.
Yeah.
So, like I just said, in my 20s, I would have just loved to go to these orgies and stuff. But you and me both grew up in the church, like different churches. You were Catholic, right?
Yeah.
I
What are
was
you?
Christian Reformed, which they're both kind of like, if you do bad things, Satan's going to be in your life. So I feel like maybe if I was in my 20s, I would have had enough religious scars to still be like, I don't know if I want to have an
Mm,
orgy because maybe that's inviting demons and Satan into my life. Or I would do it and then I'd feel really guilty about it
right, right.
afterwards. Like, do you
Feel
feel
guilt.
like that would kind of change the way you thought about these things?
In my back in my 20s?
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't really. Yeah, because like I didn't. Yeah, it definitely took me a while to wrap my head around sort of the more liberal ideas that have come to form in my life, or that I've come to be more comfortable with until my later 20s.
Hmm.
Like I think I definitely didn't. Yeah, like it definitely still had tons of. I think I probably, like whatever. I slept with the first person when I wasn't in a relationship when I was like 21, 22.
Hmm.
And I just remember just being like, it was just such a
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a Christian guilt thing, but it was just like it was very much a hard thing for me to wrap my head around. And I think that my Catholic background and my upbringing definitely affected that. So yeah, no, I think I wouldn't have been able to, really just we're doing this, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like I would have had the energy.
Yeah.
I would have been able to be like, I can, because I remember like just in regards to partying. I remember like in regards to working my first jobs coming out of university and partying like 4 nights a week and
Oh, yeah.
being tired, but like still doing it. You know what I mean? Like it'd be
Yeah.
like I'd work Monday to Friday and we'd start partying on Wednesday night and we'd still be partying on Saturday night until 4 in the morning and just being like, wow, I'm so exhausted, but like not being able to stop and
Yeah.
and
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 it's like
having a
you
great
just
time.
get up and
Yeah,
you power through.
exactly, right. And
Yeah.
and it's and now I it has been several years since if I party on Thursday or Friday, let's say, um, that I have like I'm usually still hungover, not the next day, but
Yeah.
like the day after the day. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I party on Saturday, like if I party on Friday, I still feel like shit on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like if I partied on Thursday or Friday, like I may have had plans to go out and get crazy on Saturday, but like Saturday comes around, I'm just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, those 2-day hangovers are a bitch. But the worst is, like, I basically quit getting drunk when my 2-day hangovers turned into 3-day hangovers.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
you get drunk on Friday night, just get plastered. And then Monday at work, you're like, still not feeling this, guys. And then you're like,
Yeah.
maybe I should just not get drunk anymore. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
the thing. I feel like you and I are probably kind of the kind of people where I even remember in high school, like going to parties. And for
Hmm.
whatever reason, I couldn't party. I couldn't drink.
Yeah.
But I remember being like at a party with like, you know, a bunch of people that we both know and being more just energetic and crazy than most of the people who were drunk. Like I just
Oh,
remember
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like I just remember like at one point, like I convinced like somebody else to fill up these 2 bottles of vodka with water, and just like all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the room just like downing what appears to be vodka, but it's just
Yeah.
water, and I'm just like spitting it and like just like going fucking ballistic, completely sober, and everybody's like, whoa. And finally, you know, I don't know if you know Matt Roberge, whatever, just
Oh, yeah.
completely wasted, being like, that's water. And I was like, but I just like, there's been so many times that I'm like, I can be just as fucking bonkers and have
Oh,
just a good
yeah.
time, like not drinking, or like being like, this has nothing to do with alcohol. Like let's just get lit.
Yeah.
Let's just get a little bit crazy, and it's so much fun. And I think oftentimes that's like the funny thing, which is like, we don't actually need to do that thing to get that
Hmm.
feeling. You know,
It's
like,
like you can get drunk off attention. You don't even
yeah,
need to be drunk.
yeah.
You just need people to pay attention to you.
Well, they'll call me out. Yeah, I guess is the intention.
I'm not
The other-
calling you out. I'm offering that for myself too,
yeah.
because if all the things I did in my life just to get attention, I could take. I probably wouldn't want to take them all back, but there's some that I probably should take back.
Yeah.
I'm just glad there wasn't smartphones at these parties
Oh
where
my
we
god.
were sober and having a lot of fun. You know what
Like,
I
what I
mean?
just love is people like be like, you were so drunk. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
no, no.
You know,
I'm just a
yeah, you're just
lot.
like,
I'm just a
sometimes I
lot
just
more.
like to take the lid off when I'm sober.
I'm a lot more fun than you. That's
Yeah.
all it is. The other thing, the other thing I realized, the other day was like, you know, like I do and I don't. Like you know, smoking a lot of weed, and I'm not a stoner by any means, but I've smoked a fair amount of marijuana in my life.
Yeah.
And I was listening to like Dr. Dre or The Chronic or something along those lines that was just like stoner music, and I was just like, you know, whatever I was doing, I was cleaning the house, and I just realized, I was like, the feeling I have right now, like feeling like a gangster and just being, yeah, we should smoke some blunts, yeah, that'll be fucking so badass. I'm like, that actually feels way better than actually if we all just sat around and smoked some blunts. Like I was just like, for whatever reason, maybe this is my 36-year-old self talking, but I was just like, oh
Yeah.
wow, I actually feel way, like it just like the thought of it, just like being like, yeah, we should, feels way better than
Yeah.
actually doing the thing. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like, no, but it actually kind of does. Like the idea is sexier than the
Mhm.
actual act. It's probably like glory holes.
Yeah, like you romanticize the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, now think of this. What if you got high and hit the blunt and then cleaned a glory hole?
We clean it. I was like, and then just like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
it's coming. Trust me, it's covered. Don't worry.
Yeah. I think that would be the worst thing to overthink is a glory hole. Like you're there and you're in the weed and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be, and then you're like, wait, what if this happened? oh shit, what if,
What if
oh,
I just
what am I doing with my life? I'm at a glory hole.
it's pretty soft right now. Oh God, come on, buddy.
You're like, this isn't helping my life
Yeah.
at all.
And then all of a sudden you have like this voice from the other side, like, come on, man, you gonna get hard or what? Yeah, it's got you just.
You're not even worth my time.
What am I gonna do with this wet noodle? My girlfriend, we were talking because I brought it up because
Yeah.
well, as soon as I saw it, I was like, this is so funny. I was talking to a friend, and she's just like, it's very like male thing. Like, and then I guess my question, because I was like, she's like, it's only things that only guys can enjoy, and I was like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, or what do you like? Is it something that like?
I think it's like, on one hand, you're like, it's a guy thing because he's getting pleasure and doing absolutely none of the work. But on the other hand, you could be like, it's a girl thing because she gets exactly what she wants in the penis and has to deal with nothing else. Like if all a girl wants is just a penis for like 2 or 3 minutes, then she gets it and she doesn't have to deal with the guy attached. So it's kind of like both ways,
But
really.
like, so functionally, she could like. It's not just. It's not just. This is a hilarious podcast. It's not just something like she can like mouth or put it in her hand. Like she could effectively use.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she can get to it. Of
Yeah,
course she
come
can.
on, man. Haven't you seen these porns? They're like the way they like bend over and
Right.
like get up against the wall. They can get what they want. But like yeah,
Yeah.
because it's like it's also almost like it's the safest arena for a woman to perform the sex on because she doesn't have to worry about any sort of like hair pulling or hitting or
Right.
slapping or all of these things that the guy might be into that would make her feel unsafe. So it's like I would almost say glory holes are better for the women because it's like they get the D and they don't get any of the bullshit attached.
The
Whereas a
guy.
guy, like, yeah, it's like we get like the action we want, but we don't get to do any of the hand stuff or like get to look at it at all.
Interesting.
Yeah,
And
because
we have the vulnerability of basically sticking our genitalia on the other side of a hole that they could just like guillotine that motherfucker.
yeah, like she could take a straight razor and just cut it off, like at any time. Like it's not something you
And
want
on
to
that
take.
note.
Yeah. All right.
uh, I think is that our show or
Yeah,
where
I
we?
think we're
Yeah.
about an hour and 10 in. That's good. Oh, we
Cool.
should do like what I've been doing lately is because we always get sidetracked and get on
Mhm.
tangents and never talk about the stuff that like I took the time to put down into a Word doc. So I want to just do rapid fire with you, get
Hit me.
you to weigh in on. I think there's only 2 or 3 that we didn't talk about.
Right.
So we'll do that and then we'll close it out. And then uh I want to talk about how I'm going to be a fucking professional
Dancer.
dancer in a
My
music
video.
video.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you
Yeah.
are. Yeah, it's
So
great.
so Dom is doing a cover of
Roxette's "It Must Have Been Love."
yes. And when are
Yes.
you planning to drop this?
The song is dropping on the 7th of August, and the
Ooh,
video is dropping hopefully a week or two after that. I have to cut that all together. I've just been getting submissions from
nice.
people like yourself who are dancing on
Yeah, so
it.
Dom on Instagram, he was like, "Look, I'm trying to do a video where a person dances and then you mimic them dancing like in split screen.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you can dance, or even if you can't dance, it'll be it'll be easier for you when you see my dancing. And because I'm not
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
dynamic when I dance. My whole thing was I did it in a forest to kind of add a little bit of panache to it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so I still get to be in a music video. It's a childhood dream of mine come true. So thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome.
everybody can look forward to this.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
what's your biggest hit right now that people can go listen to hold them over?
Um, I would say my biggest hit to date is still like one of my first solo releases is "Haunted by Love."
Oh, okay.
if they go to my Spotify, Haunted by Love, or the other one would be I Miss the '80s. It was kind of like
Well, that's a good song. I like that.
a Canadian radio had a little bit of a little pretty good play on the CBC. Those are both
That's
on
got
my.
a good video too.
Those are both my. Yeah, I think that was kind of what I like. I was like, I want to dance again. It's been a while since I've danced, and I've been wanting to take like a dance course for quite some time. I just haven't gotten around to it.
I mean, I feel like when people are really good dancers in a music video, it kind of ruins the charm. Like it, like no offense to you, I'm not saying your charm is that you can't dance, but I'm saying it's like if you can dance in a music video, you kind of have to go way next level, like fucking Beyonce or old Britney Spears videos, where it's like people are like, "Oh, you can dance. Let's see what you got." Whereas when you can't really dance, people are like, "Oh, that's a good dance. It's cute. It's funny," and it kind of like adds to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you went and took professional dancing, you would get you'd get into the new bracket where it's like it looks like you know how to dance, so you have to be able to really dance.
Yeah. Well, because when I made the I Miss the '80s video, you know, the whole thing was the video progresses to the point at which I've been training with this other dancer to teach me how to dance like an '80s dance, and I go and do this for this girl who was a big '80s fan. But it was just kind of like, oh, like, and for whatever was going through my mind, I was like, I should just get people. And I think what I first thought was like, if I just get people to choreograph the dance, and then I could learn it. But I was like, what if I get everybody, you know, to do 20, 30 seconds, how do I cut it together? Then I was like, oh, they're just part of the video. and then I can learn how to do I can learn how to dance like them, or I can learn some new moves, because I think that's a lot of what these things that we do. It's just like, I remember very early on, I was like, how do I dance? And my sister was just like watch people, like our friend so and so, just like watch them dance and just like copy them. And that's how I like learned how to dance.
Yeah.
Just like watching people and be like, they're doing this, and I just got to the point where I was like, I need some more input. And TikTok videos they're just so hard.
Like that flossing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So anyways, so that's the song. It Must Have Been Love's coming out the 7th, and I should have the video a couple weeks later.
Nice. All right. Yeah. So rapid fire. Did you I sent you the program, the document, and you saw this Roenick thing. This Jeremy Roenick got fired from his hosting job because he went on the Spitting Chicklets podcast, and he was talking about a threesome he had with his wife and one of the people who worked for him, which at first I was like, well, yeah, so we had a threesome, whatever. Like, half of Berlin is going to these nightclubs and having orgies. Are we really going to get hung up on this? But someone on Reddit told me that it was kind of like not really consensual. So it's like, I don't know where to weigh in on that. Like, that's definitely wrong. And then he got shit canned. And what he was saying was he worked with this ice dancing duo, and the guy was saying how hot a girl was on air on their show. And he was all like, "Oh, I'd like to do things to her." And he's like, "Well, why isn't that guy getting fired?" And then the boss said something to the effect of, he's gay, nobody really cares about what he says about women because they don't take it seriously because he's effeminate. So Roenick is now suing, saying he got discriminated against because he wasn't allowed to say like sexual things because he's a straight male. So in effect, he's like, I got fired for being a straight male. But so it's like,
it honestly sounds to me like when Jian Gameshi came forth and said, like, you know, right off the top was like, they fired me because I'm into kink.
Oh yeah.
It sounds like a load of fucking bullshit. But I don't really know the situation, but honestly, when I read it, it just felt like that. It felt like you're just grasping at straws here.
Yeah. To me, it felt like him and the guy who fired him didn't get along. Like,
Yeah,
because
that too.
Ronick's
Yeah.
like a Trump supporter, and they fought about all that. So it was basically like the guy who fired him was just like, "Yeah, this is my chance," and he just took it to fire him. Because something that happens is like when, like, because on this podcast we always talk about like cancel culture and people getting fired for their missteps and stuff. But it's like if you make one misstep and everybody at your job loves you, they're not really gonna fire you unless there's like an overabundance
Yeah.
of public outcry. But if you're a type of guy who doesn't get along with everybody else and you make a public misstep, they kind of see it as a chance to finally get rid of the person who's been like a thorn in their paw the whole time. So I think it's like a situation like that where
100%.
it's like they just saw this opening and they're like, fuck, get him out of here. We don't want to deal with him anymore.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, kind of reminds me of what's his nuts, the gangster, the big one, the big Al Capone going down on tax evasion.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's
It's like
exactly it. Like,
we got something. Let's just take him down.
yeah.
Life in prison. Get rid of him. Fuck
And
it.
then he gets like a prison sentence that would seem to be ridiculous for just tax evasion, but they're kind of just throwing the book at him and trying to get him in a roundabout way for everything else.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. That's what I felt. But is it still in process? It must be. He's still suing.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's gone to court or what. It's just he said that's what's happening.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Summerland mayor, more BC content.
Love this.
So what
Love
happened
this.
was there was a Black Lives Matter protest in Summerland, BC, which is the south of the Okanagan, and an Alberta person there waved a Confederate flag out of their cars. They drove by, and then they're like, "What?" And so the Summerland mayor went to a dollar store that was actually selling Confederate bandanas, and she started cutting them up on the street in front of the dollar store, which is good. Like, you just don't
Yeah.
get
Why not?
you don't get Confederate flags anymore. But the weird thing was that the guy who was there, they're like, "Why do you even have these?" He's like, "People want them, so I got them to sell them." And then when all this stuff happened, I took them off the shelves. So he had actually taken them off the shelves and had them in storage. So the mayor was kind of being like, I'm making a point and cutting them up and stuff. So it's kind of like you want to see your mayor taking like the step to be like, this is not okay. We can't do this. No more Confederate like flags or banners. But on the other hand, it's like they were out of service already. Did she really need to make such a big show point of it? And I say, yeah, she had to make a great big show because Confederate flags, just like, I don't know why people are still hanging on to these. Like, if I had something that I liked, like, say I had a flag from like some country from like 150 years ago, and they're like, you can't have that now. That's a symbol of hate. I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I would never show it again. But I don't
Mhm.
understand why these, like, I guess to them it means something else different.
It does. I think it really. I think there's different people who take it completely differently.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very interesting. I did a tour down through the states. I've only done one tour in the states where I went down to basically San Francisco and came all the way back. And the last show I played before I crossed the border again was in Olympia,
Oh yeah.
and it was the weirdest. It was the weirdest show.
Well,
It's
that's
just
weird
like
because Olympia, Washington was like
Nirvana.
the birth of grunge pretty much happened there. It
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So it was essentially like I got to Olympia, and then you know, I followed my Google, maps or whatever to wherever this place was,
Hmm.
and it was way out of town, and I was like, where the fuck am I? And I like turned down a country road that turns into a dirt road, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I must have, but no, Google Maps is still taking me there, and I keep on
Yeah.
going. And I get there, and I pull up to this place, and it was basically like, as far as like, there's me and four other artists,
Hmm.
and there was a fire in the backyard, and there's a big house, and it was like kind of like we were playing in a garage that had been made into like a recording studio / venue.
Hmm.
well out of town. It seemed like the perfect like punk rock, like when we were in high school, like where we would have ended up for like a punk rock show on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it would have been amazing because it was so out of town. The cops wouldn't have come, and 200 kids from our high school would have shown up, and it would have been rad. But we weren't playing that kind of music, so it was just kind of confusing. And I was like sitting around the fire. There's a fire in the backyard, and there's some other artists, and there's some people who obviously lived there, and they were all kind of like in their early 20s, and we're all the artists were kind of whispering to each other, and I was like, I think this is a halfway house to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, I think you have hit the nail on the head there. Like, I think it's kind of like, yeah, it's so there's some kind of supportive, like we're reintegrating people who maybe have been in jail or just had trouble along the way who need to like get support. And we're just hanging out, and there was this guy, and he was this southerner, big mustache, young dude. He's probably about 20, I think he was 25 years old. And he just had this belt buckle. The belt buckle was a Confederate flag that was like the size of a Big Mac hamburger. and he just made everybody so uncomfortable, just being shirtless and drinking whiskey out of a bottle.
Yeah.
And I just like, I kind of just turned to him. I was just like, I have to ask you, like, what does that mean to you? Like, what does the Confederate flag mean to you?
Yeah.
And he was from Arkansas, and he was like, I know. We had the most lucid conversation, and I don't stand up for the Confederate flag because I think the fact of the matter is it means something very violent and very aggressive to a very large part of the population.
Yeah.
That is just kind of like, yeah, we should just get rid of this thing. Like, it's just like, this is like, we should get rid of the N-word, or like somehow, you know what I mean? Like, we should just not say that anymore, or whatever that is. Like, this was wrong. We need to stop doing this thing. And but the thing that really fascinated with me was that it meant so much to him. And it wasn't, I hate, Black people, or I hate immigrants, right? It meant to him, the Confederate flag was a thing of the Civil War, and it was the Southern Democrats being like, we don't want your government. We want to govern ourselves. And to him, it was like, it means freedom. It means I can do with my land what I want to do with my land. I can run my own stuff. I don't want you to come over here and tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot of like the typical arguments of I have Black friends, and I have gay friends, and you know what I mean? And the Northerners the Northerners had slaves too, and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think the thing that we have to think about is that oftentimes it means something to somebody who's holding on to it. Yeah. And I don't think we necessarily understand what that is, because we just see the one side of like, it's just really racist.
Yeah, I think it's like it's kind of like one of those things. It's like, yeah, it does mean that to you, but it's so racist for so many people that
exactly
you don't get a hold on to it anymore. Like, there's other ways to kind of
there's other symbols that he could
celebrate
like,
the South or whatever.
Yeah, or celebrate whatever that doctrine was.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, had all of these people not done so many shitty things under the name of this flag, maybe you could keep it, but you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Anymore. So, I mean, is what I understood from the document you sent me, or the piece, is the mayor of Summerlin a person of color?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Let me just Google that. I'm going to Google it so we know. Mayor of, so I can see, because it doesn't really say in the article. Oh yeah, she is. She's African American. Well, African Canadian, I guess. Yeah. So, yeah, like,
it's pretty cool.
The mayor sees it as a hate symbol, so she gets to cut it up, and I don't know. It's like a lot of people want to pretend it's not a hate symbol, but I mean, to me, it's just like it's the goodness that some people see in it isn't enough for it to outweigh the evil that other people see in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, too, and I think it's like, yeah, there's a certain. I saw this. That I think Malcolm Jamal Warner, Theo from
Yeah.
Watch the Cosby Show. I follow him on Instagram, and he's actually one of my favorite people I follow right now. And he reposted, and it was like, I think it was basically there's a group of like Black Lives Matters activists who basically what the hell they were defacing Confederate uh, statues in the
Yeah.
South, and then basically just like they're at a press conference, just being like, "We've been trying to get your attention, you know,
Yeah.
doing this and like signing petitions, marching, protesting, and now finally here you are, like." This is, and I think it's kind of there's an element of that where it's like, and it's been said I think probably 1,000 times now or more now, but it's kind of just like, yeah, like good for her, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, had she
Exactly.
gone the route of whatever, and it's like, no, sometimes you just fucking light that thing on fire, and let's let the message be known. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
enough is enough. Just, yeah, be radical. Go for it.
Yeah. We've been trying to be civil about your
Yeah,
uncivility for too long, so
yeah,
we're just going to take it into our own
yeah,
hands.
yeah. And I think
Uh,
that's great.
Last subject before I let you go, because it's got to be like almost midnight there.
Seriously.
Um, Trump kind of did a 180, and now he's all like wearing a mask is patriotic,
No, of course he
and
is.
everybody should wear a mask, which is to me is good. And it's funny because I don't know, with Trump, it's always so hard, like because he's obviously not a good president. No, I can't really say he is,
Yeah.
but he does do good things once in a while. Like he'll have an executive order that's good, like I talked about on the podcast before, the one about censorship and social media was pretty good. And
Hmm.
then the last one about the empowering Hispanic people was good. And then like because I think it's weird though, because this one it's almost like it's kind of like he's deflating his critics because they're all like, Trump doesn't care about COVID, he never wears a mask, and then he's all of a sudden he's like, look, I'm wearing a mask.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like, what's your impression of that? Or do you just ignore it because you're in Berlin and you don't have to pay attention?
I mean, for the large part, I do. I think, yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because like, I really don't want him to get another term.
Yeah.
When I think a lot of these moves, it's like, like you're right. Like, it's like, yeah, good, finally. But it's like, finally. But of
Yeah.
course, you like now after all of this, you finally realize like, oh, I really know how to do. And it's just like, it's just frustrating because you know there's a lot of people who think he cares for the American people and he defends us, and
Yeah.
this is just going to be painted in that way again, which
Hmm.
in essence you're right, it is a good thing that like, yeah, we need to be wearing masks, but it's really frustrating because it's like, it'll just be remembered that he was in support, when it's just like, no, but he he was he wasn't
Yeah.
he was really dumb for a long freaking time, where a lot of educated politicians were standing up to him,
Yeah.
and I don't, I don't. This is a big head shaking matter with that
Yeah.
guy. but yeah, good. Maybe like if he does get reelected, which I totally assume he will, um, then maybe this sort of maybe this sort of approach will maintain, and he'll make some really good decisions for this
Yeah,
pandemic.
I mean, it's like everybody's like, oh, the biggest wish about Trump is that he finally just turns into a good president and is a good guy. And because it is very likely that he will get a second term.
Hmm.
And so you kind of just, yeah, I don't know. Like, if there was only a way that he was just better,
Yeah.
and then we wouldn't have to like deal with Biden or whatever. And then we could just go
Hmm.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hard
I
to-
always,
hard-
I always
hard
feel
to-
like maybe if we, not we, because I'm in Canada, but maybe if everybody like more celebrated all the things he did that was good, he would kind of see that. And since he's like, he goes for attention like a moth to flame, maybe we could manipulate him into being a better president. Where it's like, you did this, it's really good. You should do more of this. Like go more with like the carrot approach and
It's
not the stick approach.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like,
I'm just surprised. I'm just surprised that he se- he seems like he's a very polarizing president,
yeah.
even within his party.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Lot
it's
of
just like,
mhm.
and there's a certain point where I'm just kind of like, is there no like, like is there really not more Republicans being like, look, buddy, you can't you can't do that. That's
Yeah.
but it just seems like he has does everything he wants to do. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Hmm.
And they're all like, oh, we're with you. Like, are you though? Really? Like that's crazy for even one of for even you, like
Hmm.
even you, Mike Pence. Like that's nuts. Um, but anyway, I don't know,
Yeah.
man.
All right. That kind of deflated the sails of this whole thing. We were rolling so good with the glory hole talk, and now that we got to
Yeah,
Trump, we kind of just both like, yeah,
yeah.
it's terrible, but I guess we could just expect more terribleness in the next
Yeah,
4 years.
yeah, man.
I don't know. Maybe let's just, you're in Berlin, I'm in Canada. Let's just ignore it because it doesn't, like it affects us, but not directly.
I don't think we should ignore it necessarily, but anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
I should get going, my friend. But it was been
Yeah.
a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for taking the time out from going to all those dark clubs. Not dark
Yeah,
clubs. What are they called? Like
dark rooms.
oh, dark rooms. Yeah, thanks for taking the time out from going to those dark rooms to join me on my podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention Derek still has an effed up back. He actually got a CT scan. He has 2 slip discs,
Oh
and
my god, it sucks.
one of them has a protrusion that's like sticking on his like sciatic nerve. So
Mm,
like I'm just pointing this out because it is pretty drastic and I don't want to like belittle him for not being able to be on the podcast. But he's going through some pain. He's being a champ about it. But yeah, his problem is he can't like sit up or like sit still for more than like 15 to 20 minutes. So he didn't want to like be on the podcast and be distracted and kind of like just hear him grimacing every time he moves.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope he's
But
better. Send him my love.
for all of those of you who like him better than me, first of all, fuck you. But you can look forward to him eventually being back on the podcast soon.
Amazing, amazing.
All right. Thanks a
Cool,
lot,
dude.
Dom. And till
Sure.
next time, stay
Sounds good.
angry.